Good day, learners. Previously, we talked about how to compose great images by knowing what are the rules of composition and the elements. Even though you can capture great pictures, you can still beautify it by using photo editing applications. One of these is the Adobe Photoshop, or just Photoshop as others may say. You can use Photoshop for almost any type of image editing, from touching up photos to creating high-quality graphics. In this lesson, we'll introduce you to the Photoshop interface, or what are the different parts of a Photoshop interface. Photoshop is a complex application, and it can feel a bit intimidating to use at first. Because of this, I recommend following along with the lesson. The more hands-on experience you have with Photoshop, the easier it will be to use. But in this pandemic, I guess we should stick with this one first. We'll be using Photoshop CC throughout this lesson to show you Photoshop's features, but it is also compatible with Photoshop CS6. If you are using an older version of Photoshop like Photoshop CS6 or earlier, some features may work a bit differently, but you should still be able to follow along. Here's what the Photoshop interface looks like. We have the menu bar, the tool option bar or options bar, the toolbox, the floating palettes, and the palette well. So let's try to discuss each one. First, we have the menu bar. It is on the top portion of the workspace window. It consists of 9 main menus. We have the File, Edit, Image, Layer, Select, Filters, View, Window, and Help. Each main menu opens to some commands. Note that the Photoshop CC category on the left of the menu bar in the screenshot is only found in the Mac version of Photoshop. Anyway, we won't go through every category in the menu item here. So let's proceed to Tool Options bar. It is below the menu bar, and this toolbar changes depending on the selected tool in the toolbox. This is where you adjust the setting for the current active tool. Here we see that we use the rectangular marquee tool. We can see the different options for the rectangular marquee tool. Now the option bar is showing some options for the tool that we have selected. And for this example, we are using the rectangular marquee tool. Now let's have another one. If I choose a different tool from the toolbar, like the crop tool, then the options in the options bar change. Instead of seeing options for the rectangular marquee tool, we are now seeing options from the crop tool. Now let's proceed to palette well. All palettes like brushes, tool, presets, it's in here at this location, in this area of the Photoshop interface, are kept in this space to avoid cluttering the workspace. These are easily accessible with just a click on its tab to reveal it. Also, new in Photoshop CC is the search bar. The search bar lets us quickly find tools or commands in Photoshop, as well as tutorials on different topics or images from Adobe stock. You'll find it just above the panel column or the floating panels. If you're using Photoshop CC but you're not seeing the search icon, make sure your copy of Photoshop is up to date. Now we also have the floating palettes. These palettes are stacked along the right edge of the screen by default in 4 separate palette groups. Click on the title bar to drag it. So you can use this one, click on the title bar, or you can just just click this icon or the icon on the title bar on the other side of the interface. Now once you click on the title bar to drag it, it has a collapse and a close button on the title bar. The name of the panel that's currently open in the group, for example, like this one. In this case, we have the layers panel, appears brighter than the others. So that's how floating panel works. Floating palettes, rather. And lastly, we have the toolbox. The toolbox, also known as toolbar or the tools panel, these contain different buttons that click to select tools to edit an image. The toolbox is the tall, narrow palette at the left side of the interface or the workspace when you launch Photoshop the first time. This contains some buttons or the tools that you are going to use to edit an image. Now, by default, the toolbar appears as a long column of tools. Now, if you are going to double-click this arrow, it will expand the toolbar into a shorter double column. Now, click the arrows again, click this one again, to return to the single column layout. Now, different buttons that you will click will show the selected tools or different tools to edit an image. So let's try to dig deeper on the Photoshop toolbox. Or what are the tools? Now let us discover the toolbox in Photoshop CS6. Previously, we discussed the CC, Photoshop CC. Now this time, let's have the Photoshop CS6. The tools in Photoshop CS6 and the Photoshop CC are somewhat the same. So let's try to discover the uses of each tool and classify a few of them. Again, we have the selection, crop, slice tools. That's the first category. Next, retouch and paint tools, drawing and type tools, annotations and measurement tools. So, if you have a solid understanding of the tools, it will help you to better understand Photoshop in general. The toolbox, these are the categories of the toolbox. Now, take a look at this one. This is how we categorize the toolbox. Okay, so let's have the selection, crop, and slice tools. First, we have the move tool. The move tool is used to move layers, selections, and guides within a Photoshop document. We have the rectangular marquee tool. It draws rectangular selection outlines. All you have to do is press and hold Shift as you drag to draw a square selection. We have the lasso tool. With the lasso tool, you can draw a free-form selection outline around an object. Also under selection, crop, and slice tool, we have quick selection tool. It lets you easily select an object simply by painting over it with a brush. Next, we have the magic wand tool. It selects areas of similar color with a single click. Now the tolerance value in the options bar, you can find it in the tool options bar. It sets the range of colors that will be selected. You have the crop tool. You use the crop tool in Photoshop to crop an image and remove unwanted areas. Still, we have slice tool. The slice tool divides an image or layout into smaller sections, which can be exported and optimized separately. We have the slice select tool. This is the last one for the selection, crop, and slice tools. Slice select tool, you will use this one to select individual slices created with the slice tool. Next, onto the next category, we have the retouch and the paint tools. First, we have spot healing brush tool. It removes blemishes and objects. Healing brush tool paints with a sample or pattern to repair imperfections in an image. Patch tool. It repairs imperfections in a selected area of an image using a sample or pattern. Red eye tool. It removes red reflection caused by a flash. And still under the retouch and paint tool, the clone stamp tool. paints with a sample of an image. Pattern stamp tool paints with part of an image as pattern. Eraser tool erases pixels and restores parts of an image to a previously saved state. And we also have background eraser tool. It erases areas to transparency by dragging. Still, we have magic eraser tool. It erases solid color areas to transparency with a single click. The blur tool, it blurs hard edges in an image. Sharpen tool, you will use sharpen to soften the edges in an image. We have the smudge tool, smudges data in an image. Dodge tool lightens area in an image. Next, the brush tool. We have the brush, paints brush strokes. Next, pencil tool paints hard edge strokes. Color placement tool, it replaces selected color with a new color. Mixer brush tool, it simulates realistic painting techniques. Now, still have the history brush tool, art history brush tool, gradient tool, paint bucket tool. You can pause this one if you wanted to know more about it. On to the next category, drawing and type tools. You have the fat selection tool. You will use this one to select and move an entire path at once. Type tool used to add standard type to your document. Type mask tool, it creates a selection outline in the shape of type. However, the type is added horizontally rather than vertically. Pen tool, it allows you to draw extremely precise paths. Vector shapes or selections. We have the last two, shape tool and the line tool. It draws shapes and lines in a normal layer or a shape layer. Custom shape tool makes customized shapes selected from a custom shape list. And onto the last category, we have the navigation notes measuring tools gallery. First, we have the hand tool. It moves an image within its window. Rotate view tool and the zoom tool. You can pause this one if you wanted to know more about it. And we have the note tool, eyedropper tool, ruler tool, and the count tool. Now, if you wanted to know more for each tool, you can research more about it or pause this one. But remember, do you remember the functions of each tool? So, there we have it. Now that we know more about Photoshop's toolbox and its many tools, what are the different parts of the Photoshop interface, the next video attached on this lesson will show you how to use some of these tools as a beginner. I hope you learned something from me today. This is your teacher, Teacher Jai. Thank you and see you again.